Right? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Aurora City Council's Committee of the Whole meeting. It is Monday, January 11th, 2016. Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Ms. Varner?
Present.
Ms. Grandillo?
Here.
Mr. Hatteridge?
Here.
Mr. Horvat?
Yes.
Mr. Kovac?
Present.
Mr. Cudley?
Here.
Ms. McDougall?
Present.
Mr. Vaca? Mr. Wolf?
Here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for December 21st, 2015.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any additions, comments, corrections?
I'll
All right.
So I.
Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Ms. Varner?
Present. Or yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize.
Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hatteridge?
Abstain.
Mr. Horvat?
Abstain.
Mr. Kovac?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Yes.
Ms. McDougall?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca? Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. The minutes of December 21st are approved. We need to amend the agenda before we move on to new business. We need to add one item. It's going to be item B, employees generally. It's moved and second to amend the agenda, adding employees generally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. So the first item under new business is item A, revision for tax abatement for AKMA Development LLC. Who will be addressing that? Last meeting and you're passing the buck already. Mr. Paul? Mr. Paul?
Yes, ACMA, again, was, they were here before you a few months back. They had requested a tax abatement for an addition that they were putting onto their building of about $450,000. And after they got into the discussions and recognizing what the expansion of their business, they now determined that that was insufficient and that they are going to be more in the $700,000 range. Generally, you would think that, well, that's all right, but the county looks at it from a standpoint that they approve $450,000, and if they spend more than that, the county generally will give you a little bit of a leeway, maybe even up to 10%. But anything above that wouldn't receive a tax abatement, so that's why this is in front of you to amend the original ordinance and to substitute the $700,000 for the original $450,000 abatement that was granted by council.
Thank you. Mr. Burge, did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. The Akram Holding Company is the company that owns Express Systems, and when they were before you, they gave you a slight bit of business history. They take in used medical equipment and refurbish it or upgrade it or strip it down for parts and then sell it literally all over the world. The mayor and I visited them recently when they said that they wanted this increase, just to get a feel for what they're doing out there and why they're expanding. And they pretty well convinced the mayor and I believe, that they do know what they're doing and that they have an opportunity with a partner who is already in their building in the medical equipment business to do some other things that were larger in scale than what they had originally intended. So they've gone back to their builder, they've asked for new plans, they've gotten those new plans, and what you see before you reflects that increase into a little bit larger addition than what they had originally thought it was going to be.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burge. Comments or questions, Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mr. Paul and Mr. Burt, I don't care who. Are we comfortable with this? I mean, you're saying in the $700,000 range, should we put up to $750,000? Just, I mean, if they're revising plans at this point, are we going to hit a snag and have to come back and revisit this again?
Well, I asked that very question of, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Wolf, I asked that very question of Mr. Paul when we were looking at this revision. He explained the 10% to me, and when we talked to the applicant, They said that the range was going to be between 650 and 700, depending on a couple of bells and whistles or a wall that they needed to build here or there. I subsequently talked to their builder very briefly, and the builder said that's spot on. He thought right there, dead in the middle. He was thinking 675. So I'm very comfortable that they're going to be right in this ballpark.
Mr. Wolf, all right, thank you. Mr. Paul?
And if the county would follow through with their usual procedures of allowing a 10% leeway for the owners of buildings because of the fluctuating costs at time during construction, then this would be a $770,000. So it would be sufficient to handle.
Thank you. Ms. Barner?
Thank you, Councilman Headley. I do remember the gal who came and spoke to us from Express, and I think it's very exciting that they wanted to grow their business, and I believe, my recollection recalls, is that they were ideally wanted to have everything under the same rooftop. And in order to do that was to expand and have everything here in Aurora. So I'm glad to hear that it's still going through, and even if need be, bigger space and bigger ideas, it's still here in Aurora. And I think that that's very exciting for us as well. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Kovach?
Mr. Chairman and Ms. Burge, who's the partner with them? Who are they partnering up with?
Partner, it's Akram, the principal is Akram Abdullah, excuse me if I don't pronounce that exactly correctly, an Egyptian who lives in Solon, has been in business here for quite some time, and I believe his only partner is his wife.
Okay, that's just, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hatridge?
Thank you, Mr. Cully. Mr. Palmer or Mr. Burge, either one. This is located in that section that's 100% abatement, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Mr. Vaca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Burge, this will be two abatements running side by side then, right?
No, the first abatement will go away.
That one goes away, this one picks it up. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Barner?
I'm sorry, last question. Just to piggyback Councilman Kovach, you had mentioned that they're partnering with someone else. Do you mean another company? Who is the other company with Express?
Oh, I'm sorry if I use the word partnering. They'll be involved in the business, I believe. The name of that company is Meridian Medical. And actually, I can tell you a little bit about their business, not a lot. They've developed a very small imaging, I want to say x-ray, and that's not the correct word, but digital imaging that makes the ability of a physician to move around without having a lot of large x-ray equipment with him to perform diagnostics.
Interesting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? The administration's asked that this be forwarded to council for its first reading this evening.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to forward to council for its first reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item B under new business is the employees generally. Who will be addressing that? Mayor? Ms. Aldridge?
Thank you, Chairman and members of council. This is my first time up here. It's pretty exciting. So we have the master copy generated for all of you. I'm not exactly sure what you guys usually discuss on it each year, but if anyone has any questions.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Vaca?
Routine increases.
Some of these increases are by contract.
Correct. Correct. Everybody except for the non-exempt employees are covered by their collective bargaining agreements.
And the other thing is this is generally runs along
The,
for those that are.
yes, sir, most of them are at 2.5% this year.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Hatridge?
Thank you, Mr. Cully. Ms. Aldridge, on the non-union, what, do you have an average of the increase this year for them?
2.5%.
2.5, flat 2.5% for everybody?
That's the average, yes.
Okay. So it would run from what, 2.5 to 3, or can you give me a ballpark?
Everybody was at 2.5%,
Mayor?
except for a couple of people that, the lieutenants,
Right.
that,
Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hadrich, the two lieutenants had a different increase because we have been impaired by how close they are in salary to the sergeants. And that has, I mean, they have even been exceeded in some cases in pay because of the sergeant's ability to have overtime. And the standard across the marketplace is a 12% differentiation or differential. And so we have increased their increase to try to meet that a little better. We also had a slightly different agreement that was a sort of a 2-year agreement with Leah Salura, the Assistant Finance Director, so that she's in the 2nd year of that agreement, trying to bump her up to be a little more in parity with the other assistant directors. And I think those were the main differences. Everybody else was 2.5%.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. McDougal?
Thank you, Councilman Cudley. I'm just wondering on the police officer where it says probationary and then the other one that says vacant probationary, can you enlighten me on that?
sure. Mr. Chairman, Ms. McDougal, so basically probationary, when you're in a collective bargaining agreement, you're probationary for the first year that you're employed. So when we put the vacant probationary, it's because whoever we bring in, they will be under that guise for the first year of their employment.
Does that affect their increase or?
Well, when they're probationary, they're coming in at that lower rate, and they stay that for a year, and then I believe it's a step process as they get promoted after that first year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Horvat?
Yeah, this is either for I don't know, whoever wants to answer it. Why did we switch from per hour or from salaries to per hour?
I'm happy to answer that, sure.
Because per hour doesn't do much for me.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Horvat, if you notice on everywhere else on the masters generally, all of the sergeants, all of the police officers, they are all shown as an hourly, at an hourly rate.
Right.
So we had the assistants to the department heads, anybody that was unclassified, non-union, non-exempt. So non-exempt means that you are subject to overtime. So my feeling is that you have, in order to accurately show what is being paid out, for you to approve it, you're approving an hourly rate. You're not approving a salary per se, especially in a year like 2016 when we're going to have 27 pays as opposed to 26 pays. If, say, you put the assistant fire chief at a salary, you are actually approving something that's not correct because he's going to have another whole pay for that year. So it's probably $3,000 short if you're just saying that he makes X dollars. So.
But even at 27 pays, it's the annual salary divided by 27 pays rather than.
But that changes your hourly rate. It's
Yeah,
20.
I just-
It's 2,160 hours as opposed to 2,080 hours, which is a typical year.
Yeah, I like it yearly because it, this way I know what it costs.
Can I ask why that it's any different than how it shows the sergeants or
Well,
anybody else that's hourly?
We'll just look at $40.87. I know that's $40.87 an hour, but what is that over a year? I mean, I'm looking at a year rather than per hour. Certainly I could multiply it.
I have a supplement that I can show you that would explain exactly what the difference is. It comes to almost $54,000 differential of what you guys would be approving if you were approving a salary versus an hourly rate.
Yeah, this is just a change for me, you know how much I like
Understood.
changes.
Because our,
But I also
Yeah.
understand you don't want to sign off on something that's not an accurate depiction of what we're paying.
could you provide that for council?
Absolutely.
Just email that out? to
Yes, sir.
Council?
Happy
Or
to.
Ms. Hawks, and then she could get it to us.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor?
Mr. Horvat, we can certainly provide the salary, but I think the point is, just to give you an example, in 2016, I'll look at the police lieutenants. They will make, because the 27 pays, $92,736. But that's not their actual annual salary. It's like 89, but it's all based on an hourly rate. And I think we were striving to be accurate for your purposes, but, I mean, we could sure show you.
No, I mean, I'm fine with it, it's just, it was a change.
Okay. Mr. Vaca?
Let's stay with the lieutenants, Mayor. So you say approximately 89,000 they'll make a year. What does the sergeant make approximately 89 a year? See, you have an hourly. In order to figure that out, you got to go to a calculator. And I don't have one here. So they're hourly, right. So for a year, they would probably make 70,000, 80,000?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
I mean, I have the salary, I have what everybody made last
Yeah.
year. And they made, in many cases, a lot more than the annual amount that you would translate that hourly to because of overtime.
Correct.
So it is, there are many different amounts here. They're not, that's why the hourly is the most significant, because that's what they are that's what they're targeted to make. But then when they have 35 or 40 or 50 or more hours of overtime, that really compounds what they get.
Okay, so for what it's worth, then, a lieutenant makes $38 an hour, $40 an hour. He makes a couple bucks. He should be making a couple bucks.
$42.93.
Okay. So you're trying to make that now on this, or that's what he does now? He gets $42.92 now?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca,
Yes.
that's proposed for
Okay.
2016.
That's what I
Currently,
wanted-
it's
I want to get
40/50.
that clarified. Okay,
Currently,
thanks.
it's 40/50.
Okay, so he is making a little bit more than the sergeant.
But the 42.93 is more than just a 2.5% increase.
But the lieutenant does not collect overtime. Correct. He
Correct.
doesn't get it. If he has to go on a scene at 2 in the morning, and he doesn't collect overtime.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca, he is a non-exempt employee. He does get overtime.
Well, he
He
gets
does
overtime
get
too.
He does. Everybody is non-exempt except for directors
Except directors.
and Donna.
So obviously, he doesn't do enough overtime to keep up with the sergeants.
It's based off of the base pay, though.
Right.
So the proposed for the sergeant is $39.04 an hour,
Yeah.
as opposed to a lieutenant that's $42.93.
Okay.
So there's your 12% differential.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vaca, back to the point about lieutenants getting overtime. The fact is, though, they don't have as much opportunity to get overtime as sergeants do. So that compounds that differential that we talked about.
Mr. Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to approve the actual hourly rate, so I appreciate you guys' credit. However, Councilman Corbett, I'd like to see what base salary is, 40 hours or 37 and a half. I'd just like to see that on another sheet, but I want to approve the actual hours, because I agree with you, I don't like having the actual hourly number down, especially for the which it applies to, I just, along with the council board, I'd like to just see what it would come out to at a regular maintenance hours.
Easy.
For my own personal education.
Right, okay. So you'll provide that for us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Right. It's being asked that, by the administration, that this be forwarded to council for its first reading this evening.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Martin, please call the roll.
Ms. Varner?
Present. Yes.
Sorry. Ms. Grandillo?
Yes.
Mr. Hattrich?
Yes.
Mr. Horvath?
Yes.
Mr. Kovak?
Yes.
Mr. Cudley?
Abstain.
Ms. McDougal?
Yes.
Mr. Vaca?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. It's be forwarded to council for its first reading. Just a reminder before we adjourn that the deadline for submitting rules to council for its changes to its rules is next Thursday, the 21st. We will discuss those at our next committee of the whole meeting. Should there be any changes that are approved by the committee of the whole, then they'll be forwarded to council for action. Okay, so if you get those. All right. With that in mind, oh, you're good, okay. With that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you.
And that wasn't